Hey there, it's Lauren with Gear Cleaning Solutions. In this video, we're going to learn how to do an advanced inspection of the outer shell of the pants. But before we begin, we need to make sure they're clean. According to the standard, the way we check this is by doing the soil transfer test. To perform the soil transfer test, you'll take a piece of white paper and rub it on the pants. If the paper stays white and nothing is transferred from the pants, that qualifies as clean. If any contamination or dirt transfers onto the paper, the pants are soiled and cannot be inspected until cleaned. Test a few different spots to be sure the pants are not contaminated. Once you've ensured the pants are clean, you can begin the advanced inspection. Key components of the advanced inspection of the outer shell of the pants include physical damage, damaged trim, damaged closures and hardware, fit and coat pant overlap, seam integrity including broken or missing stitches, material integrity for loss of strength due to UV or chemical exposure, reflective trim and Velcro integrity, attachment and functionality, label integrity and legibility, liner attachment system, closure system functionality, and accessory compliance. Let's start by checking the closures. Make sure the buckles function properly and that they haven't become brittle, worn, or broken. Check the positive closure. There should be two closures. As you can see on this garment, there's a snap and Velcro. The Velcro has two sides, the hook and the loop. Check the stitching on both the hook and the loop. Make sure there aren't any broken or missing stitches. Check for fraying around the edges on both sides. On the loop side, make sure it's not raised up and that it's not fraying too much. Check the seam on the edge where the closure system is sewn together. Then we want to check the functionality of the Velcro. Make sure it still adheres to itself. Work your way down the inside seam of the pant leg. Check for any broken stitches and make note of any snags present. The trim is an area where you have multiple layers of thick material coming together. The garment is more prone to coming apart in these areas, so check the seams thoroughly. Next, check the cuff. Make sure the leather isn't brittled or dried out. Check for any holes, rips, or tears. Keep working your way up to the trim. Check around the seams for any areas where it might be detaching. For example, this hole needs to be noted on the inspection sheet and will require restitching. Check the reflectivity and fluorescence of the trim with a flashlight. Work your way up the pant leg to check the overall condition of the material. If there are any patches on the garment from previous inspections, make sure the integrity of the patch is still good and it hasn't been weakened at all. Check the condition of the knee where the leather reinforcement is. Make sure there are no missing stitches. If you see the knee separating from the shell, continue to pull the material apart until you hit resistance. This is where the seam still has integrity and will be a marking point for the new stitch. If you see any past areas that were sewn together, check the integrity of that stitch. Stick your finger on the inside of the pant leg and try to push through. If you can't push your finger through, the stitch is still strong. A bar tack stitch can be used to reinforce the area. Next, move on to the pockets. Even though they are an accessory item, you still want to notate any damage. Check the Velcro to make sure it's attached and that it's functioning properly. If it's coming off, make sure you notate that on your inspection sheet. On the loop side, check for excessive fraying along the edges. Over time, it will fray more and more as it gets closer to the stitch, and then it will eventually peel off. Be sure to notate that on the inspection sheet. Also check the adhesion of the Velcro to ensure it's still attaching properly. Next, check the seams around the pockets. Look for any holes, tears, rips, abrasions, and char marks. Continue working your way around the gear. Check the area where the belt is encased and sewn into the gear. Check the overall integrity of the material. Check the major A-seam for any broken or missing stitches. Look for stitches that may be coming out. Check for fraying, rips, tears, and work your way around down to the cuff. Make sure the leather is in good condition. Make sure it's attached and there are no missing stitches. Look at the overall condition of the seams on the trim. Also check the reflectivity and fluorescence of the trim with a flashlight. Then work your way back up the major seam on the outside. Do a check of the overall material of the pant leg. Check the leather reinforcement that covers the knee. Make sure it's securely attached. Next, check the pocket. Make sure the Velcro is functioning properly and that it's securely attached to the garment. Notate any missing stitches or fraying of that material. Make sure the hardware for the drain holes in the bottom of the pocket are intact. If the material is starting to fray around the drain holes, it's recommended that this issue is taken care of to prevent further damage. Also check the major A-seam inside of the pocket. Then flip the pants over and lay them flat so you can inspect the back side. We'll start by checking the major seam across the top. Check the elasticity of the waist area if this is installed in your pants. Then check the overall material integrity of the pants. Look for rips, cuts, tears, abrasions, and any dye sublimation or charring. If you see a color difference in the material, it could just be a stain. To check the condition of discolored material, try to tear it by pulling on it or pushing your finger through it. Next, move down to the back side of the trim. There are different types of reinforcements, such as trim tracks. For whichever attachment system you have on the trim, make sure it's intact and that it's performing the way it's intended to. Look at the condition of the seams. Check that they're securely attached and that there are no broken or missing stitches. And check the overall condition of the trim, its fluorescence, and the reflectivity. Then work your way up the pants. Check the seam that goes up the middle in the back for any damages or broken stitches. Then work your way down the other side. Check the material for any defects such as rips, holes, tears, or discoloration. Some trim may appear damaged, but may actually just be dirty. New trim will appear much brighter and cleaner. Although old trim may appear darker and less reflective, you can shine a flashlight on it to ensure that it is still functioning properly. A good rule of thumb to go by is to maintain around 70% of the original reflectivity. Next, check the cuff. Make sure any previous repairs are still performing properly. And check for any new issues such as rips, holes, tears, burns, or cracking of the leather. The back of the cuffs is an area that gets damaged a lot due to gear not being sized properly. The length of the gear should be sized appropriately to the height of the firefighter. A lot of times, firefighters don't like their gear riding up on their boots too high because of the way it looks. This causes them to walk on the back of their pants, causing the cuffs to fray and tear. Next, check the condition of the suspenders. Make sure the attachment system used for your garment is secure. Whatever closure system your pants come with, check that they are functioning properly and attaching appropriately. Check the overall condition of the webbing and the padding of the overalls. Make sure the elasticity is still intact and that the pull clips are still attached and functioning properly. Lastly, one of the most important things you want to check is the integrity of the label. The pants will come with a label attached to the liner and one attached to the shell. At minimum, at least one of the two labels must be present in order to identify the gear. If one of the labels gets damaged, make sure the other one is still intact and legible. It should have a serial number, a manufacturer date that is less than 10 years old, and the overall appearance must be intact and legible, clearly showing the proper NFPA certification information. Once you've completed the inspection, go over the checklist one more time to ensure you've covered the entire outer shell. Look for physical damage, damaged trim, damaged closures and hardware, fit and coat pant overlap, seam integrity including broken or missing stitches, material integrity for loss of strength due to UV or chemical exposure, reflective trim, and Velcro integrity, attachment and functionality, label integrity and legibility, liner attachment system, closure system functionality, and accessory compliance. And that completes the advanced inspection of the outer shell of the pants.